Hello, everybody. My name's James. Welcome to another Planet FPL Clash of the Correspondents. And on this one, I'd firstly like to introduce you to the man who tells me these podcasts are like therapy for him. This time it may well be. Let me introduce you to our Burnley correspondent, Jack Toner. How are you, Jack?
Yeah, not so bad, thank you.
And the man who doesn't need therapy just needs his team to lose by less than 12 goals on Sunday. It's our Nottingham Forest correspondent, Mark
if they
Sutherns.
if they do, I will need therapy for years. Yeah,
Mark didn't want to judge anything. He's got a Premier League mug and he's decided to hide it just in case it goes tits up, I think.
It's my fancy Premier League mug that I got from the times when I used to help them out. But yeah, I'm worried what Forest fans think if I lift this up. And judging by the reaction to the theme during matches, it's not going down well.
I think you'll be all right, mate. Jack, how you feeling, pal?
Yeah, it's quite weird, really. It's probably the relegation where I've been probably least phased by. I think because it's felt a certainty for most of the season now, and to be honest, we don't deserve to stay up. I think like Sud was saying on the podcast, it's the point where you now are a bit like it's the ifs, buts, and maybes, but it feels like even that for us. I mean, someone mentioned it the other day, saying that the reverse fixture, had that handball not have gone there, we'd have had something to play for. And I'm like, but I still don't think it's right. I think we've got what we've deserved, really. So, yeah, obviously disappointed to go down, and I'm a bit worried financially, but I think it's probably fair, really, given that two teams above us have had points deductions and we're still miles off it. It's our own doing, really.
There's been faint glimmers of hope, though, haven't there? Even summed up by the fact that you went ahead against my team, although nearly everybody does that, mate, so I wouldn't read too much into that. But we last spoke with yourself during the international break, and then you put on this remarkable display at Chelsea, and you did have a little run, didn't it? It was like, one defeat in 8, and you're thinking, blimey, I wish these lot had started 6 months earlier. You must have thought the same.
Yeah, it was. It just didn't quite feel like, there was a couple of results in there. Like, you think that the Wolves game at home was one where you think that was a real big chance, but I think it's probably been our home form that's really let us down. It's all changed with Muric coming back into the side, really. He's had 9 starts, we've got 11 points. Trafford's had 28 starts, so he had 13 points, in with that. And it's not, listen, the blame doesn't solely lie at Trafford, but I think, I don't know, there's clearly some signs of a little bit of a rift, I think, amongst some of the players that's been reported as well. So I think that was probably the catalyst, really, that set us on this run, but it just hasn't quite been enough.
Even with that, in that though, with the goalkeeper change, and I think you're quite right, Muric just directly cost you 3 points there, isn't he? The Everton and the Brighton goals are solely responsible for him, and I don't think you could blame Trafford necessarily. It's probably more a bit of blame on the manager, isn't it, for the fact that you'd spoken about it nearly every time you come on. Should have just started with Muric and then changed as the season developed if that's what was necessary.
Yeah, and I think even for the resources we've got, it just, when everyone's watched Muric, he's had a couple of clangers, but it's his first season in the Premier League. He's going to have mistakes like that, and especially with the way we play. I think Bellamy summed it up quite well, where he says, it's not Arrow's mistake, it's our mistake. It's because that's how we want him to play. I think some of it is game management, which has just been poor all season for me. I get Kompany likes to play this style of play, but the one against Everton was, I think it was, into added time in the first half. Like, just get rid of it, man. Like, why are you trying to pick that pass at that particular time? Just get rid. But I think, it's been
such a Burnley thing to say. Sorry, mate. Just get rid.
But it is, though, isn't it? I mean, I even watch Arsenal, and I think there's times where they will go direct when they're under the caution. Obviously it's not as often as we are, but it just felt so preventable with some of them. But he has been. I think his presence and his passing range is so much better than Trafford's. It didn't really feel like we needed to go in for Trafford in the summer, for especially the price tag that's come with it.
Mark, be honest. If they'd have won at Tottenham on Saturday, would you be sitting here right now shitting yourself?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, I of the 3 sides below us, Burnley were the one that I was most worried about, because I felt that they were the best equipped in terms of quality to get results. I always thought that Sheffield United didn't have enough in key positions. They didn't have enough quality. The style of football they were playing was limited. They didn't really even have the threat from set pieces. Luton had a method of play that was effective for a period, but once they suffered injuries, they didn't have the squad depth. and that meant that the system of play broke down because Adebayo was a big miss, and they lost a lot of their defenders. Their back four wasn't settled, or back five wasn't settled. So I always thought Luton's squad depth would mean they'd drop away. Burnley were the team that I thought if Kompany does get a tune out of them, the way of playing is so instilled in that squad that they've probably got players who can come in and fill the gaps, and they'd still play the same way, and it could get them results. So from the moment, it was funny, Jack. You know, the game we were on before the City Ground game, weren't we? I was really worried going into that game that we'd go four at the back and you'd get a result, and that's what happened, and it could have been worse for us. And you know, I thought all the way along Burnley were the team I was most worried about of the three that came up. So yeah, I would have been. I honestly think we'd go down if I think they, you know, going to Turf Moor having to get a result would have been really tough.
That's it. It's the flip of it, isn't it, Jack? If you'd been in a position where if you know to beat Forest would have kept you up, you'd be sitting here right now, right fancy now. I think.
Yeah, and I think in a way, and on some kind of reflection, we aren't really that far off. But I think it's with the points deductions as well. It just doesn't feel right. It feels like we should be a lot further down than what it is, and I think that's for me is what's probably ruined it as well. But yeah, I mean, in that run recently, if there was just another, change one draw into a win, and like the performance at Chelsea was deserved of more than just a point, really. We've not really gone to any of the big sides this season and picked up a real shock result. So yeah, and I mean, obviously, I guess at the City Ground that would have been, that's a 6-pointer in a way, isn't it? I know it was points apiece, but had we have, it was just a little bit of a different look on the different day with the one that got called a handball, because I think the referee apologized afterwards and said they got it wrong, didn't they? So yeah, it is what it is, though, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Suj said, and as I said to him, we've all got them ifs, buts, and maybes. I wonder if it might have been different if you hadn't started with that horrendous fixture list as well, Jack. It was so tough for you at the start, and then before you blink, you 1 point or 4 points from like 10 and stuff, and just constantly looking up, and it just becomes more desperate than maybe it would have been if you'd have had a kind of run. Because the two games you had that were kind were Forest and Luton, and he's picked up 4 points from them.
Yeah,
everything else that you were massive underdogs.
Yeah, I still, in a way though, we were still quite positive throughout that run, because whilst it was a tough run, it was like we've made a lot of signings here. We're still clearly learning, and the results that you don't expect to pick anything up at. Starting a home to Man City, you think, oh, it doesn't get any tougher than this. But if you could pick something up, then it's a massive sort of confidence builder. But yeah, we just didn't. It was in the games afterwards in that period when it was us against Bournemouth, and you were thinking, could that be the end of their manager? And it was just a flip of a coin. We weren't a million miles off it. It was just the way it went. So yeah, it probably didn't help really, I guess. But yeah.
Mark, for yourself with Forest, what's the overriding feeling right now? Is it pleased? Is it relief? What is it?
Relief for sure. Yeah, I don't think we can be pleased. We've had an awful season. We might end the season on 29 points, which is absolutely shocking.
Yeah, well, you go down every other season by distance, wouldn't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's been a season littered with problems on and off the pitch, hasn't it? It's funny, like we sing Forest and Magic on and off the pitch. It couldn't have been much more from the truth this season, to be honest, because it's been more tragic than magic, I would say. I mean, obviously, suffering the points deduction, that's our own fault. Crazy transfer policy, crazy recruitment. But having said that, I look at the teams who did finish below us, and I think while I wouldn't, endorse the way we approach coming up and what we did in the transfer market as a template to follow, we have stayed up over 2 seasons. And I don't know what Jack would think about Burnley, but I think the 3 teams, Luton, Sheffield United, but didn't overextend in the transfer market. They all bought players in, and Burnley certainly did some shopping, but Forest did overextend. We went too far, didn't we? Hence the points deduction. But even barring that, we signed too many players, and it was crazy. But we survived 2 seasons, so I guess would I want it done another way? Yeah, I'd like a more steady approach off the pitch to our recruitment, but it's worked. But mainly because the 3 sides below us haven't performed points wise, and we've got lucky, we've got fortunate. There's no doubt about it.
you think that will change the policy now, Mark? Because obviously the Brennan Johnson transfer obviously stands as part of this year's annual. You haven't actually got to do any giant sales as far as we're aware. There might be a little bit. There's clearly going to be some offers for the likes of Gibbs, White, and Murillo. But do you think the strategy in terms of the overall, I won't say scattergun, but perhaps the sheer volume of players being brought in, do you think that will continue, or is it just got to change? Because on the outside, I look at it and think he's going to think, shit, 29 points, can't do that again. Got to throw more at it. That's how it feels to us on the outside. I'm referring to Marinakis, obviously.
Yeah, but he's got to throw more at the recruitment team and get a better one. That's what he's got to get, not more players in. He's got to get better at recruitment. And you look at your recruitment team, and there's talk of us bringing in the Benfica chief scout, isn't there? He's leaving after 15 years there, and if that is true, that makes sense that he's looking at the recruitment team and going, that's where I've got to improve first. Before we do anything in the market, we've got to have the people guiding the decisions better, because they clearly haven't been. We made some good moves. Murillo obviously will go for a lot of money at some point, and that's an outstanding signing, of course. We've made some other good signings. Hudson-Odoi, Elanga have done well in periods, very well. But we've had some disasters down the spine of the team in terms of, the recruitment and goal, and Sangare hasn't settled. And the way Sangare has played, you kind of think, well, did we not expect that? And as I said, I was on with Jack back at that, and I said to you, didn't I? I think we'll go forward at the back and we'll throw Sangare straight in. And I think you said, James, I don't think you will. I doubt that very much.
We
did exactly that, yeah. We did exactly that and nearly lost the game. And Sangare was out of his depth from the first minute and not up to pace from the first minute. And he's never got up to pace. And instead of signing that player and easing him in, playing free at the back and bringing him on for some sub appearances, getting him up to pace, we threw him straight in and played a back four behind him. So it was like, well, you've got to be good because we've signed you so we can play a back four. So not only if you're throwing straight in for your debut, you've got to be effective and prevent us from conceding chances. He had no chance. And then he got an injury. Then it was AFCON. So I do cut him some slack, but I could only think Cooper was under pressure to do that, which is what I alluded to on that episode. I said, I think Cooper can come under pressure to play Sangare and go forward at the back, bang, straight away. And I think that was the case. Cooper knows what he's doing. He wouldn't want to have done that. But I think Marinakis went to him, I want you to play more expansive. What do you want? And he said, get me a number 6. Right, here's your number 6. Now you play more attacking. I don't want to see 3 at the back. And he changed it. And then, we could have gone down. We could have gone down because of that. So mistakes were made, but I think that's down to off-field pressure. And obviously in the end, Cooper went. I don't know how Jack feels about Kompany, but I think the fact that Burnley kept faith with Kompany showed the intent, which was we won't overextend. We'll use this as a season of learning. We'll stick with Kompany because we've got faith in him. I think that's the right call. I think Kompany's a great manager and will be a great manager. And whereas what we did was like Cooper out and we signed a new keeper and got Turner out straight away, whereas they obviously gave Trafford a bit more time. So I think we were a lot more impatient, a lot more knee-jerk reaction going on, but we got away with it and it kind of worked. So I think we're very fortunate.
Certainly come on to Kompany in a second, Jack, but I just want to timestamp this, Mark. We're obviously pre-recording Monday night. You said to me before we started recording that there's going to be an interview with Marinakis in the Daily Mail on Tuesday. Do we know what this is about? Is he just going to have a rant, or
it's going to be all about him? I can tell you that. So, no, I mean, obviously the Olympiacos victory, there'll be focus on that, but I guess a lot of the questions will be about where he's taking Forest next, what his ambition is. They'll ask about Nuno and they'll ask about the ground. There's a lot of questions. I mean, there's a lot of things up in the air. I mean, I personally don't think he'll keep Nuno. I think he'll push him out.
Yeah, good segue. We heard you say that on Black Box a couple of weeks ago. Is that still the case, that you feel that way?
I think I'd like to see him stay. I'd like to see him given the chance to build and get a summer and get his players in. But I think if Marinakis, the only thing that will keep him at Forest is if Marinakis can't find anyone better. And I bet you he's looking. So it will come down to that.
Wasn't the whole deal partly with Cooper that he wanted him to be more expansive and stuff? I mean, Nuno's not exactly the most, is he?
No, but he has done that. I mean, if you look at the data, all our stats are up in both attacking and defending. He's got what he hasn't done is rule out some of the he didn't get to the set piece for frailty enough. We suffered from that all season until perhaps the end when we moved to 3 at the back, and he didn't get the defensive errors out, and we missed chances at crucial times in matches. So I think we were a bit unfortunate in a lot of games. But I guess, a lot of teams can say that. But I think if you look at the data, we're like the 4th best defence since Nuno arrived and 7th or 8th best attack. So you think there's the stats aren't everything, but it gives you a basis, to build on. And so I do think that there's a chance, given more time and some of his own players, that he can get us up the division. But it's going to be a lot tougher next season.
Yeah. 29 or 32 points, or even 36 points with your 4 back and a win on the weekend might not be enough next year, mate. So
we will need 40 at least.
You I don't know about that, but you'll definitely have to do better. Plus, Marinakis' idea for the football club is not to be doing this anyway, is it?
No, he wants
to push on the top half. And...
Yeah, his expectations are what drove the change for Cooper. And I don't think Nuno has met his expectations. So I don't know if he'll give him time, because he'll want more. He would have wanted to see more from Nuno, I think. And he won't buy yes, he'll have some sympathy with the points deduction and the decisions of the VAR and all that stuff, because obviously he was part of that protest, right? But I just think he's an impatient man who wants results. And if he can find someone he thinks is better equipped to get us there, he'll make that change.
Has there been kind of bond built up between Nuno and the crowd? Because obviously it was a massive one with Cooper, and that feels like part of the reason why he stayed so long, right? It was a great affinity between the fans there and the manager, and he knew if he sacked him, it wasn't going to go down very well.
Yeah, I think anyone who came in faced a tough task to follow the bond that Cooper had, and I don't feel that from the supporters to Nuno. What I do see is a good man. I think he's someone that I like as a human being, I think that's important to me. I want to like my manager. I don't want to dislike them. I know that's not going to get me results, but I think that in a way that plays into it. After having Cooper as a manager, I wanted someone who I could relate to and as a human being thought was a decent person. And I think he is. But I think that I don't think he reacts quick enough. I think on Saturday, Pochettino set him a puzzle when he made the subs, and Nuno showed again that he didn't react quick enough to what he was seeing on the pitch. He doesn't see situations change and react to it quickly. He wants to think a bit more about it. And in that time, they scored 2 goals, or certainly got the upper hand. And I think I've seen it quite a lot, that he likes to have, he doesn't want to make snap decisions on what's going on. He wants a bit of time to adapt, and sometimes that catches us out. And I think that'll frustrate Marinakis like it has me. But yeah, like I say, I don't know who's in the background. I don't know if we're having a search for a new manager, but I would probably put money on the fact we are.
I'd like to chip in and say that I liked him as a human as well, Mark, despite what happened at Tottenham. But then I also had Jose Mourinho before him and Antonio Conte afterwards. So from that perspective, he would come across like a good human. Jack, on Vincent Kompany, he's clearly not going to be sacked, because that would have happened long ago. And I think Mark's already alluded to it, that there's a clear plan, a strategy to obviously stick with him. How would you feel if he got offered another job and went?
Yeah, it's quite funny you asked that, because someone asked me that last week, and I was like, I'd actually be very disappointed, and I don't think he'd be well liked in these parts. I think whilst last season in the Championship was one of the best I've watched, well, probably the best. I think this season has to go down as the worst, or if not one of the worst. And we've shown a lot of patience in him. He's been backed a lot more than any of his sort of predecessors. Dyche has never had 100 million to spend in a window, 17 signings. It's pretty mad, really. And I think, like Mark was saying, that there's been pressure on their manager to play certain players and play a certain style. I don't feel like we've had that from our chairman. It doesn't feel like there's any pressure, really. He sort of, Alan Pace said in the documentary last season, he says he's like he's dating the most attractive woman in town, and basically he alluded to saying that Kompany will be off one day, but until then he's just trying to keep him happy. So I think Alan Pace is madly in love with Kompany, and I don't think he'd ever sack him. And I think
surely come a point, mate. I mean, if you're sitting here in November and you're 18th in the league, there's a discussion to be had, isn't there?
Yeah, but I think he's been very reluctant to, and I think he's been backed a lot more than most managers would in that situation, really. I think some of it isn't purely just down to his tactics, whatever. I think we're clearly trying to grow the brand and other bits of stuff like that, with getting in JJ Watt, and we're just trying to become a bit bigger, and Kompany has that attraction of getting the pull on some of these bigger players and stuff. So Yeah, I would be very disappointed if he was to leave. Yeah, it would not be the right timing, I don't think.
Do you feel owed a bit?
Yeah, I think so.
From
I
him?
think, yeah. I think this time last season when we're sitting here thinking, oh, he's being linked with Chelsea and Spurs, you'd be like, you wouldn't really begrudge him that move. So I think it's been a real topsy-turvy season, I guess, because he showed loyalty to stay, but then I think we've showed equal, if not more, loyalty to him this season, really, because we've, without putting the 11 points on the board in the last 9 games, we were massively cut adrift. We were effectively relegated in January. Had it not been for points deductions, I don't know at what point we actually would have been, but it would have been, a good few weeks ago. So yeah, I think he does owe us, really. So if he was just to jump ship, I don't think it would go down well at all.
I mean, we know, I think factually, that there was feelers put out by both Chelsea and Tottenham last summer to sort of just get a little bit of interest and a feel that certainly that sort of job wouldn't be coming up at this moment, I think, because of this sort of season. But what would you say if there was a club that was just above you, who had a madcap owner who wants to throw money at the wall and do crazy things? If he got offered the Forest job, would you expect him to turn it down?
I would like him to turn it down. Whether I would expect him to or what, I don't know. I think he's had 17 signings this season. I think he'd had more, if not similar, last season. I think we've done everything we can to make it his team, and he's got all of his own way. We've given him a new contract. I'd be disappointed if it was, no disrespect to Forest, but it's more of a sideward step than a step. Like, obviously Chelsea and Spurs would be a massive step forward for him, and you couldn't really begrudge him turning that down. But I think for all the support and backing that he's got, yeah, I'd be disappointed if he was to go to someone like a Forest.
Mark, Vincent Kompany?
I'd take him, but Vincent, absolutely, I'd love him to come. And he'd be on my, in my top 3 probably if you talked about managers that we could get. I think he wouldn't take it because he's cleverer than that. I think he in his career.
We said that about the Tottenham job for him as well. He's like, you don't want to touch that, mate.
I think Nuno fits the profile of a manager who is, is in his stage of his managerial career where money can talk and opportunities that offer money can talk. Kompany's at the start of his managerial career. If I was him, I wouldn't want to work under Marinakis. He can work his way up to a bigger club, and so why would he go to Forest and risk getting a bad hand there or a bad chain of it? Because whoever manager comes to Forest is going to have to deal with stuff off the field, no question. I mean, I'm only speculating, but I think I'm pretty certain that there's stuff off the field that a manager has to deal with our ownership that's not easy, right? I'm pretty certain that is the case. Pure speculation, not based on any fact or ITK or anything, but that's my impression. Company's too clever to walk into that. I just don't think we'd get him. I'd love it, but we don't think we.
But a different flip of it is I kind of allude to it. This time last year we talked about Tottenham or Chelsea. Now we're saying those sort of clubs wouldn't go for him. Well, what's to say in another 6 months that no one would go for him? And Burnley have booted him out of a job, and his stock's fallen where most clubs in this country go, nah, actually, don't want to do that. It's not worked. If you get offered something, more money, etc.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I'd absolutely love it because for me, I cover a manager like that because he's forward thinking. He's expressive in the way he plays. He's got his own system and methods that he wants to instill in his team. You know what you're going to get. Okay, it didn't get results at Burnley, but I think he can take them up again automatically and then grow again. And I would expect him to do that. I would expect him to look at Burnley as a project. And yeah, it inevitably, Jack will probably admit it's a stepping stone for him in his managerial career, but I would expect the next step to be a big club. And I like to think Forest are a big club, but I think he can do even better in a few seasons' time, having taken Burnley where he can. And like I say, he's too clever. He's not, from the outside looking in, he'll have the same impression as me, as in, do I want to work for that owner? I think.
Does that not mean, Mark, that every good manager should feel like that?
Yeah, but some managers will go, you know what? I'm arrogant enough to think I can take that on because I'm an experienced manager who's worked for many chairmen and owners. I can deal with it. I like the club, steeped in history, etc., the support, whatever. there are things that appeal about Forest, but for Kompany and where he is in his managerial career, why would he take on an owner like Marinakis so early in his managerial career? I don't think he needs to, and why would he do it? In 10 years' time, he might do, but I don't think he's going to do it now.
I mean, there's another interesting reason why I think he probably would turn it down, actually. Has he got too much power, Jack?
Yeah, I mean, there's probably a case for that. He's got things. Like I said, Alan Pace is madly in love with him. He will give him whatever he wants. Which is why he's going to spend the money that he spent this season on the podcast. On the documentary. They'd sort of said we never intended to spend anywhere near as much money as we have. So I think they've just gone there and completely supported him. It's chalk and cheese from the last ownership, really. For last ownership and Dyche, it was cards close to our chest, and the finances looked after themselves. Whereas now it's just all a bit up in the air. It's just a bit crazy with the outgoings and the incomings and what we're spending. So yeah, I think he has got quite a lot of power. But I think Pace clearly looks at him and recognises that one day he will make it to the very top, and he's doing all he can to keep him there. And when Pace alluded to it and saying that he is like, the most attractive woman in town, he's chasing after him, spending money like, someone who's dating the most, attractive woman in town. So yeah, it will just continue. I can see us again next season signing at least 10 players in the summer, which we don't need to, in my opinion.
That's risky, that, isn't it?
Yeah. I think there'll be wheelings and dealings. We'll try and shift some of the players on that we've got, but that's the thing for me. I think we're just stockpiling far too many players and trying to keep them all happy, which is what it said in the Athletic this week. There was reports of not a complete rift in the dressing room, but they're saying there's now like sort of groups and little cliques that have been sort of formed.
There was this team meeting, wasn't there? This arranged team meeting.
Yeah,
only 10 of the squad turned up or something.
Yeah. But I mean, it's just like Jack Court's club captain. He's not started a game this season. So like, why would we keep hold of him? Surely you'd look to move him on. It's just some of the business. And then we obviously didn't go out and get a left back which is what we clearly needed. But we went and got another keeper for 19 million when our other one was decent enough. It just seems a bit.
I mean, to give you a statistic to sum up that basically your team became weaker than the one that went up. Your left back from last season is about to play in the Champions League final, and your star attacker is probably about to win a treble with the Bundesliga champions, Europa League, and probably German Cup as well. That's Nathan Tedder and Ian Matson, the two players I'm obviously referring to. So, I do you agree with my assessment? And I think you have said it in the past as well, that essentially this is an inexperienced squad, but will probably benefit from it if they stay together next year.
Yeah, which is what I would hope that we will do, but I'm just not convinced that, the model now is we want to just keep spending and getting in all these, these fines and stuff. Even January showed that, we've made another 2 signings, albeit loan signings with an option to buy, or whether it's an option or whether we have to buy, I'm not too sure. But again, it was just like the solution was let's go and spend some more money and bring in some more players. Whereas I was like Mark said, we've got enough quality. I genuinely feel like had we have just had a better team spirit this season, we'd have been there. There's a mixture of it being very inexperienced as well. But I think we would have had enough had we have relied on some of last season's players. But he just hasn't. He's, for whatever reason, he's seen past a lot of these players.
So if there's a team spirit problem, who do you hold responsible for that?
It's got to start with Kompany, hasn't it? For me,
it's interesting that,
because I think that's when you're signing 17 players on top of the players we've already had, you just can't keep them all happy. So that's why I'm not so convinced that next season will be a complete breeze, because the players that haven't played this season, to them, if we turn around and want to rely on them again, they're going to have a question mark like, "What? I wasn't good enough last season, so why would I want to get you back up to the Premier League again if I'm going to fall out of favour?" So yeah, I mean it probably will all, if you're winning every week, the morale goes up anyway, doesn't it? So I think we will have too much for that division anyway, but I think it's going to be interesting. There's probably going to be a few that I think he'll try and get rid of if they're unhappy, that he'll try and force out. So
names?
It's strange. Zarori, Benson, I would have thought.
So they were both important in the Championship promotion team, right?
Yeah, very important. Yeah, but then
Zarori's been out on loan.
Yeah, Benson started one game this season, and then it was really weird that he brings him on with half an hour to go at your place. It's like, if you thrown the towel in here, like I don't get it. Tressor's obviously
bloody hell, he's one-footed, by the way, Jack.
Yeah, he's very one-footed. But yeah, I mean, I think Zarori opted to leave because he wanted to go in search of game time. Connor Roberts again, who played most of our games last season, send him out on loan to Leeds.
We all thought last summer he was going to come and invert and play in midfield
Yeah,
for you.
yeah, because that was it. He was by far #1 choice over Vitinho last season. And then all of a sudden now he's interested in Vitinho, which I think Connor Roberts is quite an outspoken character. So I wouldn't put it past him to have had something to say, and whether that's had something to do with him going out on loan, I don't know. But there's definitely murmurs of bits of problems there, which for me, it starts and ends with Kompany. Really, it's for him to try and maintain that.
This guy sounds perfect for you, Mark. He buys too many players, he stockpiles, pisses people off.
Yeah. It's really interesting, isn't it? Because the way we're talking about Kompany, it's like it seems like that, the revolution and the revolving door of players was led by Kompany, whereas at Forest, I don't think Cooper had much influence on who came through the door. I mean, he had with some Gibbs White, Hudson-Odoi, there was clearly a connection. There was talk that he wanted Chris Wood. So some of the players, yes, were Cooper players, but a lot of them weren't. Whereas what Jack's saying is that Kompany was probably driving the recruitment, and obviously Kompany was picking the team. And it sounds like there was an element of he wanted to break up some of the network that was there before he arrived, that there was perhaps like he felt against him maybe, whereas Cooper saw that network of players that he'd built in the promotions. He just dispersed because with all these new players coming in. So it's the same outcome, but different role the manager played in that and the ownership played in that, which is really interesting.
Yeah. Okay. What's next for Forest, Mark? Assuming you get through Sunday without the worst case scenario.
Well, I hope it's very careful, precise, exact recruitment to hit the areas of the team that we need to reinforce. I think one of Murillo and Gibbs White will go, and I think that will probably be Murillo. I don't want either of them to go, obviously, but I think of the two, he's the one that we can lose and still rebuild from. If you lose Gibbs White, that is a big blow because he's so central to everything we do up the other end of the pitch, creativity-wise. So I hope it's 5 or 6 signings in the right places. We desperately need a number 6, and Sangare should have been that, but I don't think we can sit and wait for him to develop. I think we've got to move for another one because we need one from day one, and I don't know if Sangare will be that player, but we can't wait for that unless we play 3 at the back next season. I guess a lot depends on where Marinakis is with Nuno. If he gives him time, then I wouldn't be surprised if we played 3 at the back most of last season. Next season,
flip-flopped a bit recently, haven't you?
Yeah, and I think we saw Nuno's Wolves play that system effectively. I think he likes it and knows it. Again, why he didn't revert to that when he arrived, I'm not quite sure. Again, was that down to player pressure pressure from the ownership to play more expansive football? But he can. His Wolves team were an attractive team to watch, so I don't think 3 at the back means that we're going to be defensive. And when I've seen him play it, he's often given Bolly and Niakate license to get into midfield and go and press, which is actually really interesting and it works really well. And Danilo's a better player with 3 at the back for having that. So if Nuno stays, I'd like to see us play 3 at the back. If not, then we've got to go and spend a lot of money on a 6 that's effective.
How much do you want for Gibbs White?
Well, Brennan went for what, 47.50, did he? Something like that?
Yeah.
We've got to ask for 60.
I'm sure you've looked over your accounts, Mark. You must know the answer.
Yes, I should know that one, shouldn't I? We've got to ask for 60 for Gibbs White, I think. I'd expect that. And I think there'll be plenty of suitors.
Yeah, great. Murillo?
He's not worth 50 or 60 yet, but he certainly will be one day. I think he's a very special player that he's going to probably play at the very highest level, Brazil, Champions League, the lot. And I don't think Gibbs White's going to necessarily do that. So Gibbs White value is 60 million now. I think Murillo will be worth 100 million one day. The way it looks, the raw material there is just ridiculous. And yeah, he's something else. Like if you look at the data, he's second to Tarkowski for like clearances, blocks and interceptions, but he can shoot from 70 yards and beat 4 players with the ball. And his passing ability is ridiculous for a centre-back. So in a good side, in a few...
Love to see how we would look in a ball-dominant team.
He'll be exceptional. So if we can hold on to him another year, we should get 50 or 60 for him. If we sell him in the summer, we'll probably only get 30 or 40, which will be a crime.
He's one of the most unusual looking footballers I think I've seen, because he looks like he shouldn't be that good, mate.
Mm. Yeah, his pace and strength get him through things, don't they? And he's getting better at reading the game, but he's just technical skills and his passing is ridiculous. And if he stays and we play three at the back, I'd like to see him figure more in having more of an impact further up the pitch, because he could.
Selfish question. There's another player of yours I'd be very interested in, who I've been really impressed with the last few times I've watched you, mate. Is Ola Aina.
Yeah, another good bit of business.
It's not all been bad, has it?
No, not at all. And he's like quality on the ball, excellent technical player. His end product's not always there, but he's got a lot of pace. He's very good one-on-one defender, which is what you want. Yeah, he's exceptional. And I think him and Nico on the other side have settled down to be our first choice wing-backs or full-backs. And they're okay in either position. I think Nico's better as a wing-back. Again, this is why I want to see three at the back. So, yeah, I love Aina a lot. I think he's someone I want to see develop again next season. And he's young. He's got plenty ahead of him.
I see any fullback step into midfield, they're of immediate interest to me, mate. And he's very comfortable on the ball, and he was pretty good, particularly against City. And I thought he was one of your better players again at the weekend against Chelsea as well, actually.
He can invert, can't he? I think if we wanted to do, yeah,
I definitely think he could do it. Is there anyone from your squad I should be looking at, Jack?
Sander Berg's been brilliant this season. He's been our player of the season and well deserved. As he had a few sort of question marks from some of the Sheffield United fans. I think they were a little bit bitter, and I think they thought they could have got a bit more of a tune out of him. So he's been exceptional this season. Few murmurs and people talking about Odobert. There's a good player in there, but again, he's just, I think, too inexperienced and a bit too young for that real end product. But yeah, this Stev come in. He looks quite good in defence.
That's going to become permanent, isn't it?
I believe so. Yeah. I think we've got the option to, and I think it looks like we would take that up. Which there's then rumours now that Jordan Bayer might move on in the summer.
And that was just made permanent last summer after a
yeah,
right?
yeah. But I think that was just because he's been out most of the season injured. But again, we've so many players and so many options in the defence that I genuinely think you could lose 6, 7, 10 players and we'd still look all right next season for the Championship. So, Koleosho is probably the other one. Obviously, he picked up that nasty injury sort of early on in the season. But I expect he'd be, I think because we paid so little for him as well, it feels like we know if we were to get a fee for him, we'd make decent profit.
Has he got any chance of making the weekend?
There's been rumours that he's been getting close.
Yeah.
I don't think we'd risk him at this point now. I think with his age and stuff, I'd like to see us probably play some of the, I'd like to see Rodriguez get the nod. Really, I think it looks like he's going to be moving on. It would just make logical sense for me. So I expect Kompany then to start with Dacho bloody Fofana instead, knowing what he's like.
No good for Fofana.
He's come out today, and there's been a bit of a
Jack give a massive blow in the cheeks for the benefit of those on the audio.
He looked like he had some real ability at the start, and then it's just sort of petered out. Again, there's a player in there, but he doesn't look a Premier League player for me just yet. He's talked about saying he wanted to stay at Chelsea in January, but I mean, God, he looks way off it for that. I think he's also mentioned and alluded to something about Kompany as well, saying he doesn't want to. He said something. He doesn't want to go into too much details, but the manager's changed something, and it's not helped him out or something. So whether that's just tactically or something else, I'm not too sure there. But
questions on the game at the weekend. There's always one game on final day that just goes off a bit mad that no one quite understands why. Could this be the one, Jack?
Yeah, it could be. I don't know whether that would be mad good or mad bad. I probably expect it to be more mad bad, to be honest. Our home form has been shocking, so yeah, it would take a lot, but it would be just like us to think, what, we've finally got the R-Next was on the league table, and we would probably show up at home, wouldn't we? So he's got all the capabilities of doing it, because we will still want to play Kompany style of play, and we'll still go and take it to teams. So, I mean, the last 4 games have been proper end-to-end stuff. Like the United game was, we just went down one end and they went down the other. non-stop for 90 minutes. And I think there was elements of us like that again at the weekend where we just kept going for it. So one day it could just turn a bit mad. Yeah.
What's more likely, a 0-0 or a 3-3?
3-3.
Okay.
Mark, I was going to say 3-3 as well. Yeah, I
can. You were nodding away when Jack was speaking, Mark. I'm guessing you think goals in this as well.
Yeah, I just, why not? Because both teams, I think, have it in them to just play attacking football. I mean, our defenders are actually better going forward as well. So I think that it will be tit for tat, and I think plenty of goals. I mean, why not? I mean, it's the last day of the season. There isn't really anything at stake, and I think that Burnley will want to send off, show their fans that they can perform at that level, and kind of hint at what's to come next season. And Forest will want to, be expressive and score some goals as well. So I see it much like the Sheffield United game, except Burnley have got more about them than Sheffield United. So we won't win 3-1. It'll be more like 3-0. Yeah.
Okay.
I said 3-3 purely because I don't think we've got a clean sheet in us. So
okay,
so we're never going to concede.
Let's rule out FPL defensive Burnley and Nottingham Forest assets. And I don't suppose anyone's thinking, I want to use my last transfer on a Burnley or Nottingham Forest attack. I know they're probably not, but if it enables getting Mo Salah as part of a package, for example, people might be looking. Your top goal scorer, Jack, I think he's on 6.
Braun Larsen, is it?
He's a 4.8 million midfielder. Could he be punted final day? Would that be the best one?
I would say so. I think he's by far not our best player, but I think for whatever reason, he just seems the most calm in front of goal. And I think striker wise, it's a little bit risky. Does he start with Foster, which you'd expect him to, or he could still go in with Fofana, or like I said, it would more so make sense for Rodriguez. So I think he probably looks the most safe out of them, and he's Odebert's look great, but his numbers just aren't there for the output. So yeah, if he was punting a midfielder or an attacker, then yeah, it would be Braun Larsen for me.
Okay, who do you think will play right back?
It'd be Yasin.
That was some reaction on Saturday, wasn't it?
Just a tit. He's been doing it ever since we got him in January, just diving around. And it's just not what we're used to seeing.
If you haven't seen it, just go searching for Assignon on Twitter. It's one of the best reactions. Certainly one of the most vocal ones where the crowd's got involved for a really, really long time. The crowd were right on him and he was making a dick of himself. But I'm more asked that question, Jack. So I want to know if he tends to show people on the outside or the inside. Because if you send Callum Hudson-Odoi inside, we know what will happen, don't we, Mark?
It's just crazy. It's he's just got that off to a tee, hasn't he? And it's hard to stop. Chelsea.
Why is it hard to stop? People know it's coming.
Well, it's hard to stop when it's 1-on-1. I think what Chelsea did for most of the game was they managed to block that and that opportunity off by putting a few players over. So when he got 1-on-1 with the fullback, some other midfielders or defenders come over to cut that opportunity to cut inside. So they obviously were versed in it. But the goal got him 1-on-1, right? So it's going to happen if Burnley are coming at us and we break, there's going to be an opportunity to get him 1-on-1. If Callum gets a fullback 1-on-1, he's hard to stop getting a shot in, it seems. And he's so accurate at the moment. He's just got so much confidence right now. You can just see it in every touch. He's not as quick as he was. He hasn't got that explosive pace, but he is quick with the ball and he is very positive at the moment. And you can tell when his confidence is up because his first touch is always driving forward. And he was mixing that up against Chelsea. He was going outside and in, but obviously when he comes inside, he's devastating at the moment. So if we score any goals, Gibbs White and Callum will return, I think.
Hudson-Odoi $1 million cheaper than Gibbs White. Will you be getting involved, Mark?
If we score 2 or 3, I'll be surprised if Hudson-Odoi doesn't score. Yeah, if we score 2 or 3, he's going to get 1. I think the way he's playing is just so much confidence, and we're getting him much more of the ball now. As soon as anyone looks up, it's like, where's Callum? Get him the ball. Even if he's got 2 on him, 3 on him, give him the ball, because he does what Grealish does as well. He tracks defenders to him and then just lays it off. So he'll get a return, I think, at the weekend.
Why are we not talking about Anthony Elanga?
Just gone off the boil. We can't get both Callum and Anthony Elanga playing well at the same time, it seems. They've done it in shifts. So yeah, he's just. I guess the injury slowed him down, and I think he is a confidence player as well. He's missed a lot of big chances under Nuno. I had a look at it since Nuno came in. He's had, I think he's had 11 big chances. Yeah, he's had 11 big chances since Nuno came in 18 appearances, which is like, yeah, that's more than that's more than the likes of Bowen and Foden and Eze and people like that. He's right up there, and yet he's only got 2 goals in those 11 big chances. So he's wasteful. There's a player in there though, and give him space and he can cause you problems. He's not got Callum's end product, but then Callum hasn't got Elanga's pace. If you could merge the two, you'd have an England player again.
Hudson or Braun Larsen for you, Mark?
I'd go Hudson-Odoi, but I like Larsen as well. I definitely, if it's going to be 3-3, there'll be a return in for both of them, right?
Jack, same question.
Hudson-Odoi.
Okay.
I think with how we defend, it will just be he'll have the fullback one-on-one so many times. And whether it's Assignon or Vitinho at right back, neither of them are that.
What about similar question, 2 players at a similar price? Lyle Foster or returning hero Chris Wood?
Probably Chris Wood. It's just got Chris Wood written all over it, hasn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think that
he won't get a good reception, would he? I don't suppose.
He'll probably get a better one now. I think now he's probably away from Newcastle. It's not as bad, but I think the Newcastle move was just horrendous because it made them stronger, made us weaker.
Did he play for Newcastle at your place?
Yeah, and they relegated us, didn't they, last game of the season? So
right, it's the final day of the season, 2 years running. Chris Wood against you. Okay, that's delightful. He didn't. Callum Wilson got both for Newcastle, didn't he?
And I think Wood as well had come out and said, because what's he called? Handballed it, didn't he? Nathan Collins. Just ludicrous. But yeah, Chris Wood had come out and said that he didn't feel challenged enough for us, and the first half of that season he was massively subpar. So then when he jumped ship to Newcastle, it did leave a bit of a sour taste.
Okay. Mark, same. Wood, Foster.
Yeah, but he's missing a lot of chances, Wood. He had that purple patch where everything was going in and he was scoring un-Chris Wood-like goals, if that's a phrase. 25-yarders and stuff like that. It's like, what's going on? He doesn't score those type of goals. And now he's maybe gone back to type where he's missing some sitters from 4 or 5 yards out. I mean, it's funny. I said earlier in the season, he scored some goals for us that we didn't expect, but we'd have traded them in for some of the goals that he's missed recently. A chance at Everton, chance at the weekend that would have got us well clear. So I'd like to see him score because he's getting a bit of a bad rap from the fans. I mean, a month ago he was a nominee for Player of the Season, and now it's like, that's probably off the table now.
Okay. Who's on pens for you, Mark?
Gibbs White.
Jack?
Braun Larsen, I think.
Okay. Interesting. Before we finish, guys, just want a couple of quick ones on stadiums. Jack, have you put safe standing on your away end?
Yeah, for only the top, probably like 20 rows or something. So right across the top, the bottom's not got it. So I would imagine we'd put it in completely. But there wasn't that many people standing on it the last time because they'd all left half an hour in once we were getting battered by Newcastle.
Oh, so it's in the home end of that as well.
The home and the away, yeah, it spans the sort of back rows.
Okay, understood. And Mark, yours have been in the news. I think most who watched the game on Saturday would have heard some vocal stuff on the television. Stand up for the City ground and say no to Tottenham. Is it not Tottenham? Fortunately,
I think we call Tottenham a shithole or something. Yeah.
Tottenham's my shithole. Tottenham can be your shithole. Yeah. Just fill in for people who are unaware. What's going on? Is a bit of beef with the council and increase in rent and threatening to move 6 miles away.
Yeah, so we want to develop we've been putting in various attempts to develop the ground and fill in the corners, and the council are standing in our way and making it very difficult. So Monac has started to make noises about, we'll go elsewhere then, we'll start looking for a site. And the talk is that the site at Tottenham is further down the line than we think, or that's being communicated. It's not just pie in the sky. It's not just a hollow threat. It looks like there's something going on, and some steps have been taken towards that. But then today the council have come out and go, well, give us 10 million, you can have it. You can have the City ground plot and then do what you like with it. You haven't got to worry about us then. And it's like, it's quite a clever move, because now that's kind of like all the supporters are like, well, that's a no-brainer. You want to stay at the City ground, don't you, Marinakis? And added to this, our chairman owns a building company, and there's a lot of talk about, well, they want to move because they want to give him the contract, this 50 million contract, whatever, right? The cynics are saying that, right? So, the council have called his bluff now. So, the supporters are like, well, surely we're going to stay, and he'll buy it for 10 million, and we'll develop the ground. So the ball's back in our court. It's going to be very, very interesting what happens next.
Can you afford that on the PSR?
I think he'll find a way, won't he?
He's got to pay that, surely. That's just done job, isn't it?
It is.
Because I understand your plan is do some executive seating in the corners.
Yeah, we were going to
get the front end.
We were going to get these what they call containers, these metal containers, and stick them in the corners and make more executive boxes. But we want to do the Peter Taylor stand. That's the big move. A 3-tier stand, and I was in that stand at the weekend, and it's great. But it's not a Premier League standard stand. The atmosphere is the atmosphere, and it's fantastic.
Does it leak, Mark?
No, that's a that was awful, wasn't it? Yeah, let's face it, there are some rickety places. Yeah, I bet you love that. But yeah, no, I don't want us to go. I mean, I love that place. I mean, I've gone there. This is my last 2 or 3 years going back, but I go back 20 years, having been a season ticket holder back then, and I love it. And the atmosphere's been crazy. And if we went anywhere, would we be able to take that atmosphere with us? Probably not. As we've seen many clubs suffer. So
no, but there's clubs who move. I mean, my club was very fortunate that it moved. Basically literally on the same site. Arsenal moved a couple of 100 yards. Everton had just moved into a little bit the other side of the city. Rebuilding and building a new stadium in your city is one thing. Go 6 miles away, mate. That's not on, I don't think, mate. Mr. Marinakis, if you're listening, don't do that.
No, but at the same time, I'm realistic in thinking we've got to get more capacity to bring more money in to cement our status. But I'm also thinking, we've got to fight to stay up next year, right? So do we want to take that on when really we've got things to put right on the pitch before we have ambition off the pitch? So it's difficult.
What I can tell you as well from experience is when shit like this goes on, it tears a football club apart. It creates a really bad vibe. I've been to place 2 games last year and the atmosphere was really good. And I mean, it suffered a little bit this year, and this sort of stuff won't help going into next year. If you've got people going unhappy and wondering how long's this my home and stuff like that, doesn't help the vibe at all, mate.
No, I hope the right decision is made. And like I said, the council have been clever there. They've thrown it back at him and gone, we only need to find us 10 million. And the supporters are thinking, well, surely he's got that in the back of the sofa. So we'll see what happens.
Good luck. Thank you both, gents. Jack, let's have a correct score prediction then before we finish.
I'm going to go 2-2.
Mark?
I'll go 3-2 Forest then. I think there'll be lots of goals, and I've got to go Forest win, haven't I? So 3-2 Forest.
I kind of want to abstain. It feels like it could be anything. Feels like it could be 3-1, 4-2 either way, or low scoring, high scoring. I'll give you a home advantage. I'll give you the edge, Jack. And Mark, you'd be desperate to not concede too many, right? Just in case, pal. Just in case it comes through that Luton are winning.
Yeah, well, remember the Stoke Swansea thing? My God, that was when we lost 4-1 at home and lost out to Swansea in a playoff place by that.
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean...
What was the difference that night? It was about 8 or so, was it?
Wasn't quite. I think it was 6. I want to say 6, but they won. I can't remember what they won 4-1, I think, and we lost 4-1, something like that.
It was a 6-goal swing. Yeah,
absolutely.
It probably was about that.
Yeah, so obviously...
So double that, Mark. Luton wins 7-1 and you lose 7-1. Here's the good news. I think you'd stay up on goals scored, mate. Honestly, I think you're going to be okay. Jack, anything you want to plug before you finish off?
No, just at Turfy Topper on the old Bird app.
Good stuff. Mark, yourself?
Last black box coming this week of the season. Oh, well, then we will do some post-season as well, and we do our retrospective and that. So, come and watch us on Black Box if you play FPL.
What night you got this week, do you know?
Thursday night, I think.
Good stuff. Good luck. We'll be there, mate. Jack, Mark, thank you both so much. Should you be back with me for the Sky Fantasy Football podcast tomorrow? And as is tradition, the last COTC of the Premier League season will be with Ricky Saunders and Ben Thompson for Sheffield United and Tottenham. That'll be available for you this Friday. Just leaves me to say thanks again to Jack and Mark. Cue music, please. Man, show.